Okay, the topic of my presentation is cultural landscape as a medium for the design of new relationship between human and natural actions. And I will explain what is the meaning of this particular way to look at the landscape. In particular, I would like to show you some example also about the built underground that we could consider a cultural landscape in order to rediscover in taking care of its new meaning for forward-looking perspective. And I underline the question of the forward-looking perspective. My presentation will be structured with this different question, main question: the definition of landscape before and the cultural landscape in particular. And the question also to consider what is heritage in the case of the landscape. Not the heritage as a monument, just built to consider as an heritage, but something that exists and more specifically the existent previous writings on the earth. And the way to give meaning or understand the meaning of this and the way to reading that. In this topic, the importance for me is to learn and to focus on the ground and the underground as a built landscape that could be the signs of cultural landscape. And then the fourth question is the underground built landscape reuse, but beyond tourism, not only for them. On this basis, I will show you some way to rethink them or consider them as living spaces. So at the beginning, maybe we have to remember the definition of landscapes given in the European Landscape Convention, because there are some words that are very important for us to review our way to consider landscape. Normally, landscape is considered something that it's directly linked to the vision. So all elements that are visible on the earth. In reality, the convention, the European Convention, changed completely this way to think, to look at the landscape. And in the definition that is given in the convention, we can read that landscape means an area as perceived by people, whose character is the result of action and interaction of natural and or human factors. And that underline the question perceived and not view, and by the people, because it's not an individual question, but it is a cultural and more global question. There is the result of different action and the interaction of those, and these actions are not exclusively natural or human, but they are combined. For us, it's very interesting and important because with this definition, you can give the quality of landscape to different elements, to different part of our territory. In the convention, the main meant also the question of landscape policies, landscape quality, landscape protection, management, and planning. All these words are very important because the Conseil de l'Europe give a recommendation to the region to engage politics that would be able to conserve the situation, but not with the conservative, unique conservative view, but with a view of prospective view. And there is the word of quality or the word of protection, management, and planning that are in our domain. Word between we have discussion because we can interpret that in different ways. For me, planning or even management, it's not just an economical view or a quantitative view, but it is something that concern the way that the place are the feature also of the places, and the way that people, region, politician can conserve, can first look, protect, and project the feature of the territory. And so it includes the question of a forward-looking action for the enhancement, restoration, and creation. About creation, there are a lot of discussion because we can also look at that there at a word that is linked with the religion. But in this, in the convention, it's not at all a question of religion. It's a question of possibility to change, a possibility to follow the changement, and so to have the responsibility to make the territory able to be in to be able to adapt to the changement of nature, to the changement of history, to the changement of our environment. That's why, I don't know why there is a red line. We can begin with a picture, simple picture. Did you say cultural landscape, how to define that? And when you see a natural landscape, we can, normally we understand that as just the composition, the combination of different natural elements. So we can ask us if it is made by natural element in action, or it is a man-made artifact, or maybe it is both. The result of natural and human action in interrelation. That's why the convention say that we have to learn our environment in this way. Means that our environment is never made unique. It's not just an artifact made by nature, only by nature, or only by man, but there are both. And then we can have a lot of definition that we can find after the Landscape Convention, where we refer to the property, the geographical aspect, the importance of community, the importance of the uses, and the signification also, the interpretation of uses that we can observe and understand in the territory. There is also other elements that go in this main way in the Faro Convention, and it promotes a wider understanding of heritage and its relationship to the communities and societies. But the question on the communities in the Faro Convention is underlined. So we can also today say that it's a very important thing. For me, it's interesting to interpret that. Maybe we can use this question of the concern or the question of the relationship that the communities has with their territory in different way. In this way, I tried to interpret the needs or the needs to ask communities in different way, or not in the same way that sociologists can do, but in a way that an architect or someone who intervene in the territory can do. The other question important for me is to understand the territory of a resource of heritage spaces that are witnessing cultures. And so it is the result of human and or natural work, action and work. That's why I'm very interested in the question of post-industrial landscape, because the post-industrial is not just waste, the remain, but it is something that is asking it is a story that show us what has happened in a territory. So there is also another important question. When we refer to countryside, we look at particular type of landscape, and normally people think that it is nature. In reality, we can see if we can say that it is only nature. So it is always something that talks about the ground, about the territory, in a way to show the nature, certainly, but also the human action. And so it could be considered an artifact. In this case, who are the landscapers? What are the materials? And what are the signs of human action? There are certainly always visible characters of landscapes that we consider as palimpsest. And then I made just a short exercise to understand the composition of this kind of view, where we can look at lines, surfaces, point, vegetable masses, or text, or elements very important that could be asked, could be considered as a landmark also. But it is possible to do that with only a lot of type of landscapes. But it is interesting also because all the elements that we see on the surface that are the signs of human work, the signs of the presence of elements that cover the earth, but they are also the results of the nature of the underground. There is a very important link between the surface and the underground. So the same thing is interesting to ask to us when we look landscape as those. We can consider that channel are natural and dike are artifact, or there are both. In Belgium, it is very interesting to see the inverted image of landscape, because we have a very long line of water that cuts the landscape. Normally they are naturally, but they are the results of a very important work of people in time. And the industrial landscape are not only the machine that are elements of built elements, but that are also composed by artificial yields that are wastes. And these yields were dark, were black some times ago. And now we can see that they are completely recovered with vegetation, with wood. And this industrial landscape is completely green today. Is it a natural landscape or not? There are cancer or there are results. The same thing we can so now is it in Italy? This is in Italy, in the normal countryside, where in the beginning you have this kind of situation, but now with the economic change we have another kind of landscape. There are the landscape so show clearly that they change. They are always in movement. They follow the movement of the economy. And so they are a witness, a very strong witness about all the questions that concern our development, and the development not only of one area, but a global development. So we can also look at other kind of landscape and arrive to look at the city. In some years ago, in Liege, geographer consider that landscape was also a category that we have to study in the countryside. When we was in city, it was impossible to talk about landscape. It was not possible. Now this vision has changed, and we can see that there are landscapes, but there are they are very, very, very important, because they are the sites where the action, the anthropic action is most important. So we have to learn how to read inscription, composition, and with this composition to reach the intention and the action of time, because time is very important. It is important to look at the change in time and the progressive change of the feature of this composition. It is true in town, but it is true also in a more naturally country. This is an important definition for me that was given by André Corbeau. It is an historian, a Swiss historian, who wrote about the question of anthroposage. It's very interesting, because if we look at the composition of the word, we can find anthropos and age, or we can also look the question of the anthropos and posage as an accumulation. And so we can look at landscape as this one. This is functional landscape linked to the commercial function that we can find in all the entry of cities. It is not a landscape that is the explanation of an hierarchy, an order, but it is just the image of an action, progressive an action of accumulation. And there is no rules, there is no differences or hierarchies. So I have simply resumed that with some elements very important for me to consider. First of all, to consider the territory / landscape as a palimpsest, and to consider that this palimpsest is concerned by different types of writings. These writings are extensive on the surface, but we can look at these writings also in the underground, in the vertical way. And we have some descriptive writings, geography do that, but there are interpretative writings and also forward-looking writings. For an architect, it's simple because this kind of forward-looking writings meaning to do design, to do project. The interpretative writings are also all the elements that you can find in territory, and to find it means to understand the structure and the balance that is implicit in the landscape, in the way that the material are composed, and that are the basis of some hypotheses, that's the basis of the hypothesis that we can use to project, to relaunch a new phases of project. So cultural landscape is something that could be compared as a road lands. These lands are keeping a memory, but there are also referring to the mental posture of the user, the inhabitants. I choose this picture because it's very important for me, because this is a painter that in 15th centuries was was describing his environment. This was the Tuscany, but what we see, it's not the really situation of the landscape, but it was his perception of it. And so it's very interesting because the land between the cities appear completely desert. It was not that in this really that, but it was his perception, because it was dangerous. It was the way, the place where all the fighting were placed. So this question for me, it's very important to be careful to the intention and to all the questions that are not visible in the landscape. Other question important that I have here to report is a position of Günter Vogt, that he is an important landscape architect who is in Zurich. He worked a lot with the analysis of the way that the ground is modified. And he defined, he affirms that we are geomorphic agents, and with walking, we can transform the Earth. And this walking is also a way to think, and thinking and walking is a way of also to making landscape. And so we can use a different representation to not only to represent, but to understand what the landscape is. And if you use all our tools to represent that, we can consider that the ground is not just something where we can put something, but it is a livable matter, and it is an acted matter. Vittorio Gregotti defined the territory in this way. It's interesting because if it is acted, it's the meaning of that. It's that there is action, internal action that are always in progress, and so even if we don't do anything on the territory is changing. And so for us, it's very difficult to understand that and to combine our action with that, because we are not the only actors. And the people are important, but the nature is alive, and it is something that is always transforming our environments. And so if we want to be sustainable, we have to learn that and to understand times, period, action, and when this action can be interesting for us to help us in our transformation, and not to fight with that and be always against that. So if we are in this way to think, we can understand that we have the cultural landscape is a rich, very rich element to study, and he can tell us something else. So here in our exercise, the question is not who are the stakeholders. The stakeholders are not only people, but there is sites that are also the stakeholders, maybe the main important stakeholders, because he's there, he has to live, he has to stay, to transform. And so it's important to ask us if there is interesting to integrate this kind of elements in our way to rethink the development. I show something about Liege, the region, the city and the region where I begin to look at some difference in this way. And the first idea was to follow the Meuse River. This is a very big river that comes from France and goes to the north towards the Netherlands and la Mer du Nord. So in this briefly, in this short part of the Meuse, we can observe that there are two main cities, Liege and Maastricht, and in the between there is Visé, a very little city. When we look at the picture, we can look the same representation, the same architecture, the same material, the same shape of the territory. And so it's interesting to understand that there is a way to define the landscape in the surface. The river is an element, a very important element that transport not only material, but also culture between different cities and different region and different state. But there are also elements that we can find in different situations. And the representation, the historical representation are quite fine and quite precise. But the most important thing is the image of the relationship that the city has with the natural elements. And so we can understand that the representation talks about not only of an objective question, but it is a report of a mental relationship, and it is a report of the relationship between the city, the land, and the water. And it is a way to reveal the imaginary that it was in this time an important thing to use to establish a relationship with their territory. This picture is very interesting because in Liege there is no it's so important difference of level, but for people it was important when you change your situation, you go from the centered cities to the environment. And so you can understand that the representation represents the effort to go up, but not the really level. And so it is the same thing. How the perception of space is important in the relationship that people has to their territory. We can ask maybe the same thing here. There is a perception of people of the sea. What is the perception? What is the perception of the difference of level in the path that I have to do? And there is some other things that are disturbing their perception. But if we can remake this perception able to understand the landscape, the first situation, it could be interesting to ask that in a way to reveal something. So in my presentation, I would like to focus on the importance of ground and the importance to understand the link that we have to remake between visible and invisible. There are a lot of ways to represent that. The most efficient is or scientific way it's to do this kind of block diagram, where you can understand really which is the reason that in the surface there are trees or other kind of rocks or other kind of elements, and what is the underground in the natural situation. It would be interesting to understand when this naturality has been exploited by a human. Why, where, which was the condition, if man has used that as different opportunities, in which situation. And so I think it's interesting because not just an evidence of a unique way to look at that, but it is a kind of research of the elements that could be interpreted in different manner, and there are a lot of signs that give us a new way to re-understand the sites and to relaunch another kind of project. In this same way, I show here just a draw that make evident the question that we are always on the ground and we never think on the underground. But the underground is important, as important that the above. And it is important to think at the question of elements that are hides, that are protects, already protects, and preserve. And so we can think about what this underground talks about and what we can experience from the inside, to try to be inside, walking in, and think that. In our experience in city, we have also the experience of the industrial city, where this underground was intensified with different exploitation, mineral exploitation, and in the city there are very important invisible world, the inverted world of what we have in surface. And we can also understand that we have a lot of architecture composition on the ground, but we can imagine that in the underground, human has built a very important artifact that are invisible for us. If we want to use that, we have to imagine that. And the difficulties is to imagine it. And if we don't imagine it, we can't understand the scope, the use, and the reuse of that. And so it's interesting to think at a question. If we look to vegetable, to the vegetation, we look what they seems like in the surface, but we never ask us what is it in the underground. So in the underground there is another part as important as the visible part, and it is important for the organism. It is important for its life. Can we say the same thing for us? We are always on the surface and we never think to the underground, which is our link with our ground, which are the condition of our existence on this surface. And so I think it's important to relink, to rehabilitate this way to this mental link to the ground, in order to think to the sustainable development. It's really important for mining sites, because the only elements that we can see on surface is the machine or the hills, the waste of the production, industrial production. And all those elements that are architecture, tunnel, or different kind of construction that are hide in the ground are completely disconnected with our way to live. And so if we want to reuse that, we have to consider, and so to consider we have to design, we have to draw, we have to make this visible. And make it's visible, it's also a way to reach the interests of people, because people, as us, don't think to it. And so the draw can be an important medium to make visible this phenomenon. Yesterday we talk about the phenomenon, but this underground construction are phenomenon also, but we are not aware at all of those. And so to redesign that, it's an important phase of our study, because it's the only only thing that could be interesting for us to be aware of the important space that we have in the underground. And so it is the first step to make visible this kind of landscape and to make it understandable and imaginable. When we look also to the map of the underground, it's important because we look at something that's limitless. It is a network. We can refer to this as a labyrinth, and it is nowhere. It is important to make to reinsert there in a perception, to be able to perceive that. There are different research in this way. There is, in particular in Paris, a research, recent research made to the underground in the metro, and they called this kind of artifact urban mangroves. And it is interesting to do that, to make the underground space visible, to reintegrate it in a new cycle of life. And it is important for people, but not only for the tourism. I have the same picture in this sense that shows the importance to imagine this link. And in this way, we have the possibility to understand the importance of these layered spaces that we have to relearn. And the particularly feature of this space are similar to very important typologies of architecture. And it is interesting to study that, to make a classification of those cavities, thinking about or focusing about typology, spatiality, character, structure, lights, and dimension. And then I have some example.
Yeah.
I can show the. Okay. I just show some example of intervention. The most important is the Grotto of New, where the intervention is just a path to go in this kind of artifact and to observe the feature, but also the painting that are inside. So the question is not the architecture or that human adds to the natural situation, but the perception that is possible to have when you use this artifact to go in. And then the architecture is just I can see a tool, a medium, a kind of narrative also, because this narrative is the object, but it is also the draw that are done about it. And it is a way to talk about this reality. The same thing, it's a competition for different typology of caves that are made in 1974 by Puglielli and Purini. There are very monumental, but it is a manner to insert the architecture to establish a dialogue with the monumentality of the Cairo face. So it is a way to research and dialogue. The same thing it is in this case, because there are little elements built, but there are elements that underline different entrance in the mine. And the importance is the itinerary that joint all points. It is not the cavities, but the way to remember to people the routes that miner did when they went to work. The same thing it's true for this kind of project, where we are able to understand the quality of the earth, because this is a quantity of rock, red rock, that is redesigned with different paths between the material, and it is a way to physically concern the user of the importance of this material that was excavated from the sites. And the strategy of the project is a promenade. In these cases, it's one of the rare mines of ochre in France, in Vaucluse. And the strategy is also path, terraces, and esplanade. In this case, it is done for tourism, especially, and they add to the site a little architecture, but it is very little, because the importance has to be given to the rock, to the presence of these elements that are the monument inside and outside. Here you can see that the same operation is done with the vegetation, because the material of the cave, the quarry, it's the most important thing to reach, to touch, to be in contact. In another case, we call that in Les Baux-de-Provence, les cathédrales d'images, because these caves are used that the support of the spectacular projection on different type of subject. In our region, there is a very important case. It's our study case. It is a project and transnational project between Netherlands, Deutschland, and Belgium, where the landscape in surface is extremely divided, but the underground is the same. There are the same type of activities, industrial activities, and these activities produced the same kind of architecture, landscape, and machine in the surface. So it is interesting, because this project is linked to the importance of the underground. And now, where in this time, it's important to rethink to the importance of the extension of the level of the pool, the strait of the pool, because it is a way to rethink that we can be unified by this material. And our culture are rather similar, but in the surface, our nations are divided, our languages are divided. So it is a way to learn by reconsider the underground.
Rita, could you conclude?
Voilà, je conclus.
Okay.
Attends, aspetta. There are the possibility to reuse, other kind of use of path and insert architecture, or rethink to how quarry can be used in cities here it is in Rome, in archaeological park. The cavities are used, and each fold is used to insert architecture, but not to put on architecture. And then the architecture is also a way to relink another element, a very important element, that is the air and the sky. So when we are in the underground, we are in the dark, but it is very important because it's an important situation that improves the perception of light. And so when you have light, you can have a more important link with this element. So we have a lot of projects of Tadawando in this way, other projects for the cave in Tuscany, or project as this one for new housing system, where the touch of the and the link with the elements are very important. Here, just the two last one, two projects done by my students last year. One, it is a spa that is completely constructed in a cave, and where the construction is a way to be in an underground where the link with the material is the most important thing. They go to reshape, to remake intense dialogue between their body and elements, natural elements. The same thing is done with an artificial highland that has disappeared in the River Meuse, and where actually there is nothing, just a platform for the industrial deposition or accumulation of materials. And then students understand that it was interesting to relink people with the river, and in imagining that they can go in the deep and so remake link, physical link with the river. So the most important thing for me is to find the way to think at increasing to the manner to increasing capacity to perceive. And voila. So I can maybe finish with that. We have three important things: sites reappropriation by the inhabitants, with the importance that we can give to perception, creation of new condition of enchantment. It's a link to improve the identity, transformation of new cultural practice into different types of activities, also accessible for tourists, but not only for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita, for your impressive and complete presentation that gives us also another point of view, the point of view of the architect that use the cultural landscape tools and meanings in order to rebuild something, to create something that is different, it's in a dynamic way, and with an approach that is not of the architect, but with the sharing, with the co-creation with communities. So the identity, the significance of the place is shared.
Yeah.
And then you have the sign of the architect again. You saw many examples of a very famous.
Okay. We have many examples of famous architects that they took the challenge to design this mining activity using caves and recreating something that is visible over and underground. New signs of identity of the territory, and that was let's say the task of Rita this morning. And so giving another vision, opening the mind here, you know, we're not speaking about tourism at all. There's nothing to do. It's other science, other kind of activities, anything that can be related to the community, the land, to the history, and to the past, but creating something for the future, new. So when you look at many of these underground places that have a history and cultural landscapes, we can imagine something new, some potential place for well-being, for living. That was, I think, my comment to Rita, but please, you have to. No, okay. You have some problems. You had some problems with your presentation because it was cutting the two sides of the presentation because I think your network is slow, Rita.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's why it's kind of picture.
Okay.
But let's go to the gallery, and I would like to ask you for questions to Rita. I already see the first one, so please come here, take and
I'm sorry, can we have just one question?
yes, one question.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really interesting. For me, it's really fascinating because I'm also studying mining landscape, so I wanted to make a question on that. It's a specific category for cultural landscape, especially because of its negative connotations many times, that it's something that makes it more difficult to convince people that this is a heritage space. So do you have any mechanisms or instruments identified that have managed to change this perception? Because we have examples of projects in mining landscape, but they're still few in comparison to other heritage sites.
Often this kind of project is done in a way to tell the history of what happened in this site. There are museums, there are possibilities to go in the gallery and to go what the miners did in this kind of different landscape, in this environment. But I think there are also ways to, I don't know, to talk about that, to inform people. And maybe sometimes it's impressive because they touch the imagination of people, but it's always in a way to celebrate something that is past. Okay? For me, it's very important that because we have a lot of places in this way. And I think it's important to think to other elements that could be presented, explained to people. The importance of work, the importance of the integration of people who work in this place, so social composite elements of this history. But I think it's important also, what I was explaining, to see that element as a common element that could be interesting to reunify people between them. And then maybe we have to imagine other way to improve the sensitive belonging of people in this kind of territory, because then they think that it is not their history, their grandfather, or maybe there was the past simply, but this past is the underground. It is, yes, and it is also the reason that sometimes there are problems on the territory, because there are different areas of the landscape that suddenly go down because of this quality. So there is a danger also for the communities. And so they have concern about that in a new way, and we don't have a lot of projects that think to the way to concern people, because they come to look at history, and so they are consumers, and then they go on.
Yeah.
To improve their concern, it's important, because we have to explain the consequences. And so we have to link that to the system that is there, because there is a natural system. Those cavities are part of a system, new system, natural system. Maybe it will be interesting to explain that there are sites where water now can go, and in our region it's important, because water is a problem in surface, and sometimes water is not enough. So we have different problems, and so I think we have to improve our tools to be more educativi for the good education, to educate them.
So thank you, Rita, and with improving of tools.
Thank you.